usathane unamaqhinga ngoba uke wasibonisa ukuthi kuze kanjani kube le ntolo ebizwa www.what usibonise ukuthi usathane uyifome kanjani iwebsite i-www
hayi
usibonise ukuthi le nto le angithi technology yabo so ukuthi kube nama website bayenzile emkhathini ma Fallen Angels waze wasibonisa ngalesikhathi iVodacom angithi inani 111
yeah
iVodacom
yes.
iyenzani i-check in ibalance o-check in
yeah service I think as all the services
yes. Yeah ngalesikhathi uJesu wasibonisa yona beka 2018 wasibonisa ukuthi idemoni le cellphone ku Vodacom lenza 111 maba check balance or what wasibonisa ukuthi MTN yenza 555 ngalesikhathi lesi angibonisa athi lezi zinto lezi ama sign ama dealership angithi mabaqala ukuzothakatha ama 111 ama rank wabo so basifake kule phone so uJesu wasibonisa ukuthi iVodacom yenza 111 maba check balance or what wasibonisa ukuthi MTN yenza 555 ngalesikhathi leso ngithwele isambulo wasibonisa ke ukuthi kuze kanjani kube ne www.what wabo.
I'd already been doing certain like rituals with friends to harness the kind of power around me or within me or whatever it was to kind of overcome and engage with what I was dealing with in life. You know, I had friends who I guess they would say they were witches or whatever. And so by the point I pulled that thing off the shelf, it was in that night, I went home and I just had this desire. I don't know where I got it from. I just had this desire to carve this pentagram into my chest. And for me, you know, it just seemed like the things connected. I didn't know at the time that the Satanic Bible was kind of what I now know it is. And I find that quite interesting that in where I was feeling and that thing, they connected, and I found myself giving myself to Satan. And the logic of thought was this, Billy, it was, if God exists, God is not who people say God is, because of all the suffering I've experienced and the lack of authenticity towards that I found within the church, who say they're God's people. All of this satanic stuff and the witchcraft makes more sense of my life and actually offers me a better way forward. And so I'm going to give myself to that. And so again, it wasn't one of finding the answers. It just seems that was a route which spoke more to my questions, you know. I met the Holy Spirit. That was the only thing that held me back or that turned me around. You know, I got invited to a Christian gathering that my big sister's best friend was linked to, and I went. I probably fancied her a bit, and just sat through. You know, I sat through a whole week of these meetings, and I hated it. It made me incredibly angry. I saw these people said that they believed in God and a God of love, and they were very happy, and I thought that's a load of rubbish, and. You know, got to the point where I was just annoyed. I was trying to pick up weed because you know there are always some teenagers selling weed at big Christian festivals, aren't they? And so I was just trying to pick up weed and get with girls and stuff. And then on the last night, I was the angriest I ever was at some guy that gave like an altar call for other guys to come forward and commit to stop sleeping around and instead to be, you know, men of honor and stuff. And I thought, well, that's the worst thing I've ever heard. So I stayed at the back. Some guy came up and said, "Hey, can I pray for you?" And I was like, sure, feel embarrassed. So I made up something about moving to Australia just so he had something to pray for, right? And I thought he would like go back to his big old church and light a candle and say a prayer for me. But instead he put a hand on my shoulder, started praying for me in tongues. And in that moment, I felt the most incredible rush of peace. And it was honestly like all the things I've been up to in life. I was chasing highs and trying to feel lows. And that peace that I felt was higher than any high I'd ever felt. And it touched me at a deeper level than I'd ever felt touched before. And as I said in the beginning, Billy, I've never set out to be a Christian. I've just wanted life and truth. And something about that experience made me go, well, there's something here that I haven't experienced before, and I want to find out what it is. And that's what led me into the arms of Jesus.